contrast 2 out. And what we'll do is we'll probably add a little bit of specular to this. So once again, add a node here. And I'll maybe just bring this up to probably not too high. Probably no higher than 1. And I might even end up bringing these down again. You know, it's all about playing around with stuff, tweaking numbers until stuff looks right. So we'll reselect these, adjust our weights. And what are we looking at now? We got Rocky Cliff. And this looks, I think this looks good. That looks fine. On to the next one. And this is our first sand material. I think that looks pretty good. Probably be fine. So we'll adjust this once more for our second sand material. This is our coarse sand. Looks fine to me. And now we'll check our wet sand material here and see how this looks. Oh, I also need to make sure to remove the weight on this one. All right, so let's see how this looks. This, you can see a little bit of shininess there. That's not too bad. I think what we might do, though, is let's first try bringing the specular up to like 1 and see how that looks. Not bad, but I think what we're going to need to do is we're going to need to bring the roughness down a bit on this one. So for layer wet sand, let's multiply this by a lower number so that it reduces the amount of roughness applied to it. So what we're going to do here is I'm just going to hold down Control, and then I'm going to left click on this pin. I'm going to drag it out. I'm going to release, and I'm going to type in multiply. And another way that you can do this is you can just right click, look for a multiply node, and then you could just re-plug it. So you just go to your red pin and just drag it on it. Either way works as long as you get to that point. So next, once again, we're going to hold down 1 on the keyboard, left click to get a new parameter, and we are going to multiply this by, let's try like 0.4. Oh, we also need to plug this in, of course. That's kind of important. And we can see this still looks a little bit dry. It looks better. It definitely looks better. So let's try bringing this down a bit. Let's try 0.2. That seems pretty good. That doesn't seem bad, actually. Maybe 0.3, 0.1. I think 0.1 might be a little low. I think 0.2 will be I think that'll be a good number. So I think we'll go with that for now. So we'll save our material. And now we just have our one last thing to do, and that is to add our landscape coordinates UV stuff. So what we're going to do is we're going to right click and we're going to search for landscape chords, landscape layer chords. This is the one that we want. And all we need to do is drag this up into all of these. And then we can just stuff like the scaling and the rotation and the placement of how these textures are applied. I'm just going to duplicate this down here because I don't want to have to drag my wires all over the place. Okay, just like that. And once more, just going to duplicate this and plug it into our last set of textures here. And then I think what I'll do is I'll grab all of these and I'm just gonna, just right off the bat, I'm going to bring the mapping scale up to probably at least 4 here. Since usually what ends up happening is your textures, they tile really, really small, probably smaller than they should realistically, and it ends up looking a little bit funky. So, so we'll probably play around with this a little bit in the next video once we actually apply this to our landscape and start, playing around with painting our environment. All right, and then one last important thing that we do need to do, or that you may need to do. So in my case, as you'll notice here, I have a total of 7 different textures active in this material. Now, Epic Games recommends that you try and keep the number of textures, the number of layers that you have in your landscapes as low as you can. Usually around 5 is what they recommend. But if you do want to have more, like I have in my case, what you can do is you can simply select all of your textures like so, and then go over here to the details panel by sample or source. And by default, this is going to be set to from texture asset like so. What you're going to want to do is click this and set it to shared wrap. And so if we don't set that, then what's going to happen is when we start painting our landscape, if we have too many layers in one area, it's just going to gray out because it's just going to be too much for the engine to handle. And my mouse battery is getting low, so that's pretty cool. But that is it for this part. Hopefully that wasn't too difficult or confusing. I know it confused me a bit the first time I had to do this, but I'm sure you did fine with it. And once again, if you've got questions, feel free to post them on the Udemy course, and I'll get back to you if I can. But yeah, so that is it for this part, and I will see you in the next part where we start painting our landscape.